Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my channel. I'm Frank, and today I want to teach you how to get this sweet Nanotech pattern onto your Iron Man helmets and suits. Let's get started. So it's that season again. It's really hot in the garage, so I'm going to be taking a lot of pauses and breaks. I apologize if I'm sweaty. I also am recovering from COVID. That's a whole other bag of cats. Don't worry, I'm alright. A lot of you recently have seen this Iron Man Nanotech pattern going around, and I'm not the first one to do this. I didn't invent this method, but it's something I've been wanting to do for quite a while. The Digital Armory actually beat me to it. I guess we both had the same idea around the same time. He just pulled it off first, and his came out beautiful. Go check his stuff out. Now, this pattern is from Walsh 3D, and I want to show you the method I use to get this onto my prints. Now, there are probably 1,000,001 ways to do this. This is my method. If you want to experiment and test some other stuff, that's totally up to you, but hopefully this gives you an understanding of how to apply that pattern. A few things you're going to need for this is obviously the pattern. Now, this was printed in PLA, and it really isn't that flexible. Yeah, I can bend it, but it won't form and mold to a helmet too nicely. This one, however, was printed in flexible PLA by Ataraxia, which is arguably like the coolest name for a filament brand ever, and it's literally stretchy PLA, but it doesn't print quite like TPU. I threw this on my printer. I didn't change any settings. I just slowed down my print speed to like 50 and 60 just to make sure everything was coming out good. When you're printing something this delicate and flat with a lot of sharp edges, I wanted the printer to go slow, and it paid off. It came out great, and I'm really happy with it. One word of caution though, don't print the flexible filament on like a textured bed, like a magnetic flexible bed or something like that, because it has a really hard time coming off. Try to use a glass bed or like a PEI spring sheet. This way it just kind of pops right off. I actually ruined one of my magnetic beds because this flexible filament would not come off of it. This is the normal size that the pattern from Walsh 3D prints out as. I actually dropped it in the mesh mixer and did a lot of overlaps and extrusions and just kind of cut it up and made it bigger. I'm sure Walsh wouldn't mind making bigger patterns for larger armor parts, but for now we're going to use this small stencil. I'll link both of these down below, the flexible PLA on Amazon and where to get this stencil. Now, the next couple things I'm going to say are very subjective, and it's only the information I have at the time. As far as I know, this only works with very specific paints. Now, you guys probably understand there's paints like, you know, standard red spray paints or gold spray paints or white spray paints. However, in order for this to work, you need a type of tint. That's exactly what duplicolor metal cast spray paint is. This isn't actually a color, it's more of a tint. If I was to just go and spray this on something, it really wouldn't give me that nice red finish. You need to layer this on top of something, and actually if you read the instructions on the can, it talks about using a metallic base coat. In this case, I use gold. Now, this is something I do on all of my Iron Man helmets, or anytime I want to use this metal cast red, I use a gold base coat, and you can actually see in some spots that if I scratch off that red, there's gold underneath. This gives you that nice Iron Man red, and I believe this is what they did at the Stan Winston school or whatever the heck. They are the ones that kind of coined this, using a gold base coat and then using a red tint over top of it. If you've ever messed around with airbrushing and understanding tints and different, you know, clear coats and stuff, this makes perfect sense to you, but I'm going to be using spray paint cans. So metal cast is great. I remember some people saying that people have been using it wrong, which I don't quite understand, but this comes out fantastic. Again, this is a gold base coat and then the metal cast red on top of it, but in between those steps is where we're going to put this pattern. Now, I have a couple test pieces right now, and I also have a forearm that I spray painted gold sitting up in the attic right now waiting to be painted, because I want to take this in two different directions. I want to show you the way I got the pattern on this really nice helmet, and I want to see if we can add the pattern to an already existing metal cast red. If we're talking about a visual way to look at this, first we're going to do the gold, then we're going to take the pattern, put it on top of the gold, then we're going to take a darker red. In this case, I used, what is this? This is dark cherry metallic red duplicolor. We're going to use this as the stencil, and then once all of that is said and done, we're going to go over top everything with the metal cast red. Oh, don't fall. This was actually a quick scrap piece I used. I tried to see if I could get the Nanotech pattern to come out on an already clear coated piece, and it's not as prominent as it is on the helmet, and then I tried some silver, and that kind of didn't come out too nice. Now, I'm using cans of spray paint. That's totally up to me. It does give me less control, but it is a much quicker setup. If you want to use your airbrush for this, that's totally up to you. Go ahead, clean it out, find some reds you like, and we can get started. Hey guys, so I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, Spider Tanks. Spider Tanks is a PvP brawler designed and developed by award-winning Netherlands-based Game Media. Players can choose between a number of tank bodies and weapons in the garage and then battle it out on one of the many arenas. Spider Tanks also incorporates a variety of play-to-earn mechanics, centering around skill-based competition, resource collection, and a player-driven upgrade cycle. Whether or not you want to play casually with some friends or maybe test your skills in like a big competition, Spider Tanks might be the esports game for you. You can purchase stuff in the game that's fully tradable with other players. Weapons, tanks, and bodies all in the Spider Tank store for advantages to the upgrade cycle, rarity, head starts, and more. If this looks like something you guys might be interested in, or maybe you're looking for a new game to try out, check the link down below, download it, and give it a try. Thank you again, Spider Tanks, for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to it. So right here we have a gold faceplate. It's not sanded and prepped too good, but I just want to get the point across. For this one, I'm going to be using a darker red to show what that results look like. And then over here, I have a scrap throwaway forearm that I just dusted gold real quick. And in this case, I'm going to try actually the lighter metallic like Digital Armory, and at the end, we'll compare the two. Now, this is where the airbrush is going to pay itself in dividends because you're going to have more spray control over the flow and the pattern. In this case, I'm going to need to try to layer this on top of the print as best as possible without getting too much overspray. Now, like I said, I'm using a darker red that is going to show through the metal cast, and this might just take a little bit of experimenting. You might be able to get a different color red and just play around with it. The first shot of it, you can see I wasn't pinching it and pushing it hard enough here, so it looks a little distorted, but here the pattern came out a lot nicer. And now you're going to try to match this across the entire part and keep it nice and uniform. Okay, so our pattern's on, and you can already see why an airbrush might be better for this. You can see where there's a little bit of overspray. However, when you go over top of it with the metal cast, it actually helps hide a lot of those built-up areas. I'm not too worried about that. Oh, I missed a spot. Okay, not bad. We're gonna give this just a little bit of time to dry. Even though it dried super quick already, I can already touch this. We're gonna allow it to cure, and we're gonna go do the silver next. Okay, now we're gonna try this on this really bad forearm, but I'm using the bigger stencil now, and I can wrap it around the forearm and really hold it nice and tight. So we're gonna see how this turns out. Much better, but already I kind of really don't like this. I know I'm gonna like the red more, but I definitely want to try it out just to see the effects on it. I'm gonna try to do the rest of the forearm, but meh, not bad. I don't know, guys. I think I'm just gonna scrap this forearm and we're gonna move on to just sticking with the red. I'll still hit this with the metal cast red and try to show the parts I've already done, but yeah, silver, I might just need a different kind of silver, but this is all I have right now. Hey, it was worth a shot, right? Okay, next up, I want to try to see if I can get this pattern to come out better on an already red part. I don't want to have to strip this down, redo the gold, redo the red. So let's see if I can layer it on top of a clear coat and then put another clear coat over it to see if it comes out any type of decent. not bad. I can see that much better than I could before, but it still kind of blends in as the same type of red. So I don't know. We'll see once I clear coat it. So the pattern is definitely there. It looks much better in person, especially with the light reflecting off of it. I'm hoping the camera picks it up nice enough. And again, it's already dry. I can already touch this. I'm gonna peel the tape off and hit it with some clear coat, and we'll see how it looks. For those of you wondering, this is a real throwaway trash piece. It was when I was testing colors, and I used a silver base coat, which isn't great. The paint peels off. Like this has been drying for months, and because I used the wrong base coat underneath it, the tape still took the paint right off. So this is all about prep work and making sure your paints interact and mix properly, and it doesn't matter how long they sit and dry and cure for, some paints just don't get along. But I'm only worried about the red. In this case, I'm using the Duplicolor 1K Clear High Gloss finish. It's this stuff is like the best clear coat in a can I've ever found. That is a 1-part, not a 2-part catalyzer. Give that a little dust, and then we'll hit it with a wet coat in a little bit. Okay, now it's time to hit this faceplate, and it's dried, it's cured. Again, there's a little bit of overspray, but I'm gonna start hitting it with this metal cast, and you need to go light with this. Very light dust coats. People want instant results with this, and it will run, it'll be splotchy, it'll ruin the part, so take your time with metal cast. You can see already that the overspray is starting to blend in with the metal cast, and it's not as big of a deal as it was before. All right, the first coat of metal cast is already kind of dry and tacky. I'm gonna go over it again, and again, light layering and quick passes. So I haven't quite hit it with a wet coat yet. It's a little glossy, but we're not doing those nice wet coats like we would with primer or like a single stage paint. Now, one big thing I've noticed with metal cast is when you go and put some clear coat on it, it always raises the color or the tint back up a little bit. So if I was to clear coat this, it would actually make it a little bit lighter and orange. So I always try to go a little bit darker red than I want, because I know the clear coat for some reason pulls it back up like a degree or two of temperature. I know it looks super reflective in the video, but this in person is a very nice red that I'm happy with. This is where I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna let this cure. Then I would go and clear coat it, and I can show you those final results, but I don't really think there's a point to clear coat this. This already looks pretty sick, and it's pretty neat seeing a red Iron Man faceplate. Okay, here we have the finished pieces and then the helmet that I've already gone and done. So let's talk about some stuff I learned during this video. First off, I think I went a little bit too heavy with the red on the faceplate. You can see the texture is definitely still bleeding through over here. I do like that, but more in the center where I think I was just too close with the nozzle. It did kind of wash away a little bit of that pattern, but again, on the side, you can still see it pretty nicely. Now, I haven't gone and clear coated this yet, but again, this is just practice in layering. Obviously, it worked very nicely on this helmet, but I think I just went a little bit too heavy on the red, but hey, stuff happens. I'm okay with it. Next up is the part that was already red, and this actually came out way better than my previous test on that other little spot. This looks pretty nice, and the reason I was so adamant on getting this to work is because I would love to redo my whole suit with this pattern, but I don't want to strip off all of the red and gold. That would be a nightmare, especially since it's now weathered and battle damaged a little bit. Being able to add this pattern into the clear coat, I'm actually really impressed with how this came out. So just to recap, this was already red, clear coated, done. I went back over with the Nanotech pattern with the darker red, and then just re-clear coated coated it, and it gave it a pretty good level of depth. Now, if say at any point I had messed up the pattern, all I'd really have to do is go and wet sand it back down, not cutting through the clear coat, but I would be able to wash away that red with some wet sanding and restart. So yeah, successful test. I really like that. Now, I did go and hit the silver with a little bit of metal cast, and this gave it like a reverse pattern, which I don't personally like, but it definitely stands out. Now, this is more similar to how Digital Armory did his. The only word that comes to mind is holographic for some reason. It does give it a really interesting pattern, but I used the silver for the Nanotech instead of a darker red. So definitely a really interesting pattern. It works. It definitely works. I would recommend a better silver than what I was using. There was a lot of overspray and it was very hard to control. And last up is the helmet that I've gone and done. Now you can see that the back of the helmet is kind of light actually. And this is what I was talking about with the clear coat. It pulled the red that was much darker, it made it a lot lighter, but it definitely made the pattern stand out more, that I really do like. And there is a little bit of overspray in some spots, but overall I really like how this helmet came out. It's a subtle, cool pattern that I think is just so unique and looks great on the Mark 50 and Mark 85. So that's pretty much going to wrap up this video, guys. This video probably could have been a little bit shorter, but I want to give you all my thoughts and opinions on this. This way it limits the amount of questions you guys need to ask in the end. I just want to get it all out to you. I am happy with the results. This is a cool little technique and pattern, and honestly, if you did experiment with different designs and patterns, you could probably start layering in like carbon fiber patterns or other types of texture. It doesn't need to be this Iron Man nanotech pattern. I'm sure you could experiment with different textures and layerings on different armors and suits that could turn out pretty cool. Overall, I'm happy with the results, and I'm glad I messed some stuff up, because this is going to happen. It's going to happen to you. It happens to me. It's totally normal. So just be prepared for a little bit of failure, trial and error. This is why scrap parts come in such handy when testing new methods and experimenting. If I had just gone and done this on my suit and gotten these results, I'd be pretty annoyed. Good thing I tested it. If you guys haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Ring the notification bell. This way you stay up to date on all the videos I have coming out. And if you have any other comments or questions or concerns, or you want to know more about something I did in the video, please drop some comments down below. I read them all and I try to respond to as many as I can. I haven't done a tutorial like this in quite a while, and it was fun to do, show you guys some cool new methods, and there's a lot more coming out, guys. So thank you so much for watching, and you have a good day. Misery, misery. Spider-Man. Aunt May.